Hello guys, well met and welcome back to my new video. This content is perfect for all of you who have recently gotten their hands on the world of electric guitar, perhaps for a couple of years, and therefore they don't have a lot of experience, just like I didn't have at the beginning when I was a beginner. And those that I am about to give you here are some useful tips for saving time and money, and which would have been very useful to me many years ago. I remind you that if you like my content and you want to stay updated, you can do so simply by subscribing to my channel. Support my channel, it's free and it's very appreciated by me. First tip, try as soon as possible to fill the black holes of knowledge we have on the fretboard. Let me explain this better. If I asked you, for example, to play some notes in the key of A minor between the 12th and the 15th fret, I imagine you would be very scared and you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. Now, let's say that completely mastering all the spaces of the guitar, even when changing keys, is not something that can be learned overnight. But if I had to suggest something to all beginners, like I was years ago, without courses, without teachers, without anything, I would say to learn the 5 pentatonic boxes immediately. What am I talking about? These are 5 scales that are simple to remember, simple to play, because they are only made up of 5 notes that are connected to each other. So in the end, they actually cover all the keys. If you search for pentatonic 5 boxes on Google, it is really very easy to find all the possible tablatures. A trick, let's say a suggestion, which I want to give you straight away. If we want to play something, write a solo and improvise, for example, in the key of A minor, the first thing we have to do is find the note of the A on the low string of the guitar. Obviously, I'm talking about standard tuning, E, B, G, D, A, B. In this case, it's the 5th fret. We are in A minor, so starting from there on the 5th key, I will build the 5th box of the pentatonic scale, also known as the minor pentatonic box. Second tip, sooner or later in every guitarist's life, one encounters that strange knob with gain written on it, present practically everywhere. Surely, the moment you realize that the gain knob on the amplifier increases the level of distortion, you go there to turn it at maximum. Wrong! We've all done it, don't be ashamed. The basic idea is obviously that the more I raise the gain, the more distorted I have the sound, the more metal I can sound, but in reality this is not the case. Gain doesn't mean more distortion. Anyway, I don't want to go into overly technical explanation, but know one important thing: every amplifier and consequently every pedal, every preamp, and therefore also every plugin, it's as if it had a sort of limit beyond which it works so well. We could therefore say that each piece of equipment has its own best distortion. Let's say its best performance point. If we have reached this limit and we add gain again, what we get is not a more distorted sound, but a more compressed sound. It is a bit as if the sound were crushed and becomes pulped. The result is very muddy low frequencies. We struggle to distinguish the individual notes in the chords, and obviously whistles and various noises increases dramatically. Third tip, single coil and humbucker pickups. You need to know an important difference between these very little talked about pickups, or rather only partially talked about. The difference between humbuckers and single coils is huge. We are talking about electric guitar pickups. What you need to know is how they sound, but above all, how these are played. Obviously, there are no rules in this world. Know that there are no predefined rules, of course. There are suggestions, so let's say best practices, but you can do everything as you want. These sonic differences between single coils and humbuckers are extremely discussed and known to most. In fact, a humbucker is nothing more than the union of 2 single coils. The fundamental thing to know is that a humbucker is more powerful with more output than a single coil. Therefore, with more volume, with an equalization generally leaning towards the medium lows, which creates guitars that are darker, warmer. That's the variety we want if we want to play heavy metal, in rock, and of course these pickups are perfect for managing large distortion because they reduce background noises. From a sonic point of view, let's say the humbucker's disadvantages is that it can sound a little muffled by its nature. A humbucker is a pickup that gives its best when we are very precise in playing, even if we have a powerful pick, and the right hand is that important to be precise on the humbucker, because moving the right hand a lot can therefore generate a lot of noises when touching the other strings. If instead we think of the single coil, then we do the complete opposite of the humbucker. This type of pickup has a decidedly sharper sound, far from enveloping and dark. In some cases it is completely leaning towards the medium heights. Generally it is also a pickup with a lower output and therefore tends to distort less, and obviously also manages distortions much worse, creating whistling, noisy sound. It is a pickup that picks up very well imperfections, and so it favors a very aggressive method of playing, where perhaps even the strings that we shouldn't play, they play as well. Fourth tip, this question is one of the most asked: what should be my first pedal? So there are a million of pedals, each one does a different thing, so objectively choosing which one should be your first is not possible. I still remember my very first pedal. It was a Boss Hyper Metal HM3. It sounded really bad, so bad that I remember my old transistor amp Roland JC405 had a better distortion. So even if I can't give an objective answer on what is the best first pedal for you all guys, I still have my own idea, and I'll tell you the first pedal for me should be a very simple, economic, cheap multi-effect pedal. Even a used one. It is very important, in my opinion, to fully understand how many and which effects have been invented for the electric guitar, because, for example, when you start playing, many only know that either a clean sound or distortion exists. Instead, there are 1,000 other possible effects, but it is not worth spending a lot of money on many different pedals. For me, it is better to buy a multi-effect pedal unit and understand what a chorus, a flanger, a phaser, a compressor, a delay, or a fuzz they do. I personally started with a terrible Zoom G2, which also had a very small drum machine inside, but I must say that it helped me a lot to understand, for example, that adding a bit of delay to a solo really helps making it much more powerful. So I advise you to buy this type of equipment. Fifth tip. Your guitar is in tune, but when you play the chords and riffs, the sound is all dissonant. You can play the chords just fine, but as soon as you go higher on the frets than the 9th fret, a train passes under the strings. Do you have a Floyd Rose guitar, but the bridge is totally crooked and angled out? This is why you need to learn a little bit about how to set up your own guitar. I personally understood this the hard way when I had my very first Samick KR 660. After years buying it, I was convinced that the truss rod was just a bolt to keep the neck screwed onto the body of the guitar. So, for example, if you have a Jackson guitar, go and look for the Jackson Owner's Manual on their homepage, and you will discover many interesting things, such as the truss rod adjustment, the correct height of the strings and the pickups, the intonation, and etc. Learning to do a setup by yourself will improve your quality as a musician and the quality of your instrument itself. Consequently, you will also play a lot better and establish a much stronger connection with your instrument. Alright guys, this is all for today. If you like this video and this type of content, please feel free to leave a like and comment on anything you saw or heard. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and go my albums on Bandcamp. Thanks for watching guys, see you in the next video.